Hello, my name is Taylor Nichols, and today I will be introducing my capstone. I knew I wanted my capstone to be related to the career I wish to pursue, so that's why I researched ideas related to nursing. That's when I found Carson Newman Summer Nursing Camp. This presentation will include the camp itself, the lessons I learned, and my thoughts on nursing as a future career. Only 30 applicants were accepted, so that was my initial concern. An entrance essay was required, and it was basically a sales pitch for yourself as to why you should be accepted in the program. After working on it for a month, I learned that I was accepted a week after I applied. So from July 17th to the 21st, I stayed at Carson Newman University. The days were long, filled with lectures, labs, and hands-on experience. The camp itself was an intro into nursing. It was supposed to imitate what it's like to be an active nurse, as well as what nursing school would be like. My mentor is Mary Coleman, an assistant nursing professor at Carson Newman University, as well as a pediatric nurse. She was extremely helpful with the questions I had, and I viewed her as a good source for me to learn from since she was active in the field. My other mentors were Amelia, a neonatal nurse, as well as Madison, a public health nurse. And in this picture, that's the nursing building at Carson Newman where we did all of our labs and lectures. We had lectures all throughout the day, ranging up to 5 per day. They were very hard to focus on, but extremely informative. Our first lecture was on obstetric nursing, and a seasoned OB nurse came in and talked to us about a nurse's role in labor and delivery. Our next lecture was pediatric nursing, taught by Mary Coleman, my mentor. They brought in a live baby, as you can see, and we learned how to do a full body assessment on infants and children. Next was medical surgical nursing, taught by Sue McBee, who's an associate professor of nursing at Carson Newman. And medical surgical nursing is definitely the hardest field to go into when it comes to nursing. We learned about Mary Breckinridge, Florence Nightingale, and Dorothea Dix, all monumental women in the history of nursing. Lastly, we learned about disaster planning and a nurse's role in preparing for disasters, as well as taking care of people in the midst of one. Labs were a large portion of the day and definitely my favorite part of the camp. My favorite lab was the cadaver lab. We saw 2 bodies, both had been deceased for 3 years. I viewed a full body dissection on the female and just a quick overview of the male. We were taught how you can learn about a person's life and death and the conditions that they lived in simply based off of their body. I was really nervous for this portion of the camp because they weren't just bodies, they were stories with lives and memories. But overall, it was amazing to see how God intricately creates bodies to do his work. The second set of labs that we did were called skills labs, which is hands-on experience. The hardest skills lab was the insertion of the catheter with sterile technique. That's pictured in the top picture. As sterile technique is the hardest because it's a certain set of procedures used when putting outside sources into a sterile part of the body, like blood or your organs. On the side picture is a picture of me inserting the nasal gastric tube using clean technique, which is fairly easy because clean technique is not as particular, and it's used when you're putting sources into a part of the body that's already exposed to the outside, such as the nasal passages. Next, I learned CPR as well as first response techniques, which includes a nurse's responsibilities if they were to approach a medical situation firsthand. And in the bottom picture, we learned how to do a full body assessment on an adult, which can take up to an hour because it's all based on a patient's reactions to light, sound, and touch. A lot of the things we did were with sterile technique. The first picture is a picture of an epidural kit, and we learned about all the medications, tools, and needles used for that. We also saw a demonstration of the epidural kit being used. The next was central line kit, and we learned about the same thing, all of the medications used, and we saw a demonstration of how medication is given through the veins using a central line kit. And the hardest thing I probably did on the whole camp was prepping well, you were imitating to prep for a surgery using sterile technique. And just scrubbing in for a surgery can take like up to an hour because you can break the code of sterile technique. But after several tries, me and my roommate Ireland here finally got it. Overall, I gained a much deeper understanding of nursing, but my biggest fear came true and I did not feel led to nursing at all. And but the camp itself made me realize how much I loved the medical field and particularly health science. So I don't view it as wasted time because had I not gone to the camp or done this for my capstone, I would have gone into college and majored in nursing, and I'm so glad I did this camp because I realized that I love a particular field of the medical field even more than I did nursing. Some lessons I learned is that no one can succeed without hard work. And the camp was only a week, but it was so difficult and just packed with information. I can't even imagine what it's like to actually study to be a nurse, let alone like a doctor. And it made me appreciate the effects of hard work. Most importantly, I learned that God's plan will always prevail. And I can try to just plan my steps and my future and career, but God used this camp as a way just to show me that that's not what he wanted me to do. And kind of the motto we had for the whole week is this quote by Gandhi that says, "The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others." And I realized that that's what I want to do with the rest of my life, is to lose myself in the service of others, but ultimately in the service of God. Thank you.
So one of the, when we first started Capstone 5 or 6 years ago, one of the outcomes that we wanted to have happen sounds like what happened to you, which is the student was able to do something or do a project and realize that is not for me. So what was the turning point where in the week you just said, okay, I'll get through the week, but this is not where I'm headed?
Well, we did a portion on health science, so like fitness, nutrition, recovery, mostly like therapy sort of careers. And I fell in love with that field more than I did nursing. And that field is only a small part of nursing. And I was like, if I love this so much more, I want my whole career to be based off of that. And there were just little things with nursing that I don't know, I wanted more is really what I wanted. So I don't know, I didn't want to settle for that.
So that's what you mean by, you said, I saw something in the medical field that I wanted even more. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what is that field of study?
Physical therapy.
It is PT.
Yeah.
I know people who have left the nursing field for this reason. They didn't realize in the end, and it seems ironic, but you don't realize until you're immersed in it all the time, that nursing is so much bodily fluid. All day long, it's just body fluids. Were you exposed, like I see you working in the lab and all that stuff, were you exposed to a lot of that to get a real flavor for that as well?
Oh yeah, everything we did was 100% real. Except the insertion of the catheter and things like that. That was on a mannequin because I'm not licensed to do that. So, but I did view nurses doing those procedures. And the cadaver lab, all real people,
yeah,
all real equipment, slice them open right in front of you. Yeah.
That's a great opportunity. Those labs, the cadaver lab is very rare on college campuses, and so that's a real blessing to be exposed to that.
So how did this Carson Newman camp come across? I mean, why did you pick this camp?
I kind of wanted to do a camp just because I had heard students before me doing Young Life Camp and stuff like that. But I also wanted my capstone to be closely related to the career I wanted to pursue to really get a good feel for it. So I honestly just found it through research, and I kind of sifted through a couple of options, but Carson Newman was close, and I also got accepted into it. I just applied and I was like, let's see, and I got accepted.
What was the application process? You said they only take 30?
Mm-hmm. They only take 30 people. An entrance essay was required. It was 5 5 pages long, I think, and it really was just a sales pitch to yourself as to why you should be accepted. And then just like basic information, your name, age, things like that.
I was just speaking to Miss Kilburn about my own child who's coming home from after a year at college and what he should be thinking. And she said every student needs to be doing 3 internships. You've got 1 under your belt. And so I would encourage you in that first year of college or even this summer to spend some serious shadowing time with a PT. Because that's a great experience. To be able to cross off a major right off the bat is huge benefit to you.
Yeah, I actually have an internship with a physical therapist already set up. In my English class, we had to do a paper on a career and interview someone in our field, and so I'm going to be interning with him this summer.
Awesome.
So at the end of the project, did you guys have to give them like some feedback where you told them, not for me?
Yeah.
So what was their response?
There
to
were
that?
a couple kids that, like, at the cadaver lab, they're like, I'm out. They
So
said,
were they upset about that, or did they just?
yeah, they were upset about that, but that didn't bother me. I mean, it was my favorite part. Mine is just like the reasons I gave you earlier.
Carson Newman was okay with that? I mean, they didn't?
Oh yeah, they were fine with that. They were like, every summer, kids come in here and do this and drop out and don't want to do it anymore.